So it is actually 5 after 5. So I'm going to call this meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust to order. First thing on the agenda is approve the meeting minutes from last meeting. Take a minute. I don't know if anyone had a chance to read it, but let's just take a minute.
January 13th.
Okay, any changes or
I can't read minutes of that, so that's news.
do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Roll call vote because Maureen is remote. So, Jeannie? Ayer,
No. Say my name, we'll just say I'm here.
yeah, so you say
Oh, aye.
aye. Brian?
Sorry.
Aye.
Maureen?
I will abstain. I
And-
wasn't.
The chair, aye, so it's unanimous. Second thing, planners report.
Was distributed yesterday. So I sent you the same planners report that I'm sending planning tonight.
Mhm.
I just took the time to elaborate a little bit more on housing matters. Lauren, you didn't print it, did you?
I think it did.
What the,
Good for planning board, not the housing.
Well, I mean, I struggled to bring it up. Were there, if you get a chance to read it, were there any questions about anything that I mentioned?
we didn't read it. Is there anything,
I have a printing copy here.
That's, I guess, oh, I mean, we had our kickoff meeting for the zoning bylaw workshops this morning. So that's, Catherine's part of that. And so we're going through with the assistance of CMRPC through the zoning bylaws to identify problems, areas of confusion, areas of the bylaw that conflict with other areas of the bylaw. There are, if you've taken the time, had the joyous opportunity to read through zoning bylaws, you'd know there's a lot of, we have definitions section. Unfortunately, that definition section is woefully incomplete with regard to just, definitions of uses. I don't even think Gabe from CMRPC mentioned industrial manufacturing as a use that's noted in the zoning bylaw. And I forget if we even define that in any real way. The zoning bylaw allows for light manufacturing, but I don't think it describes what light manufacturing is. It certainly doesn't then go on to describe heavy manufacturing, right? Those sorts of things need to be explained in more depth to give detail and direction to the folks who are using that document. And obviously that extends to housing matters as well.
Mike, can I ask a
Yeah,
question?
go ahead.
What we had reviewed, it's for later, the housing section of the master plan. There's some contradictions noted there too. Those would be addressed as well. Or recommendations, I think, but actually both, question goes to both recommendations or conflicts. So
I included some of the bylaw update recommendations from CMRPC in the housing chapter at the end.
so that be into the scope of the work you're doing now with the zoning.
Yeah, Lauren,
Reviews.
if you pulled straight from the CMRPC recommendations, then yeah, that's exactly it.
just to add something real quick. I found actually the meeting this morning, which I didn't know about, I forgot about until you emailed me this morning, I think, on it. But it's really interesting. And David was there too. And it sort of goes over, I mean, because then you learn, you know, exactly how the town operates. And these are public meetings. So these are the bylaws that govern the town. So everyone uses, you know, character and all this stuff all the time, but it really does a deep dive. So I'm actually looking forward to this. But if anybody else ever has a free hour, the meeting's going to be an hour each about,
We'll try to limit it to an hour. I'm sure we'll go over.
yeah, so
Just
90,
because we
yeah.
can get into so much detail,
Yeah.
but like, we'll try to limit to an hour. We'll
Yeah.
try to get a lot of work done in between the meetings.
Yeah, but it was really, really interesting. And it also was, I mean, it was interesting because I think they came close to making some recommendations for bylaw changes too, which I didn't think was in the scope of that, but maybe it is. It's also consistency with state law because this has sort of been built over time. So there's overlays of, you know, bylaws on bylaws on bylaws, and the state has been pretty like aggressive in recent years of telling towns what they do with the solar bylaws and the MBTA communities and all that stuff. So it's really kind of interesting to get the handle on what's going on.
Yeah.
I want to be the new Tommy Davidson.
We'll help you.
I know it will. I mean, that's what I was thinking when I was listening.
You get a real intimate knowledge of the details of the bylaws for sure.
Yeah.
And because you touched on it, yeah, the result of the end of this process will not be, yes, it'll be proposed changes to the bylaw, but it likely won't result in, I said before, major policy swings, because that is not within the scope of this. Major policy swings as far as changes to the bylaws that depart from, or a departure from how they are written now, I would expect would come after the master planning process. So I submitted for grant funding with the support of the planning board to get a new master plan. So obviously, and Lauren's prepared a draft of the housing version of that now, and that's taken her a lot of time. It's because there's a lot of work. You know, we definitely need some professional assistance with the master plan. My initial impetus for wanting to seek professional help with the master plan updates was not that Lauren and I can't assist with condensing all the reports that have happened within the last 5 to 7 years and just updating it with the new goals and policies that are noted in your housing production plan, noted in the economic development plans, you know, the parks plans and all these things that seek to inform the master plan. But really it's because the transportation chapter of that master plan, your 2005 master plan, I found to be lacking, to the point that I didn't think that Lauren and I just looking at it and trying to work with you all and work through it and the planning board working through it, that we could arrive at something that would be helpful to the community.
Yeah, we don't have the horse-drawn carriages anymore. Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, certainly we have Eric on who's our associate member of the planning board, who's a great resource for all things transportation planning, but obviously his time is limited as well. So it's just that with all the changes that have happened in the last 20 years, and with all the changes that have happened within the last 3 years, and I expect with all the changes you'll see in the next 5 to 10 years, that transportation is going to take not necessarily a bigger chunk of our brains, right? We're going to think about it more. Traffic's going to get worse because even if for some reason Upton stopped growing, Grafton's not going to stop growing, and the surrounding towns aren't going to stop growing. So you're still going to be impacted by their traffic. So that needs to be dealt with in some way. And again, it's not about reducing the traffic, it's about managing it and describing in detail how you want it. I mean, you end up talking about streets and streetscapes and intentions for transit, public transit, and all those sorts of things. So
Can I ask a question? When are they going to start building this roundabout?
the latest is 2029.
Oh, I don't want them to do it.
They should build it. It's dangerous out here.
Yeah, but it
Really,
goes
really
clear up to all the way up past Mechanic, and there's some major road configurations, which
2029. Good grief.
So we'll see. That was the latest. We'll see if they kick it out further.
Probably.
So yeah, so I submitted for funding for that. So a cleanup of the bylaws now, then hopefully master plan completion, and then any like major swing, like for example, 2-family homes are only allowed in town as a result of a conversion of an existing single-family home that has twice the lot area. You know, that's whether or not we agree with that now, that is a current policy of the town via those bylaws. So I wouldn't want to suggest necessarily eliminating it now, not sort of from my recommendation as a part of this process, through a different process, sure, but like, that's just an example of a policy swing that would maybe come out of, actually, maybe that's a bad one, because there's some details about that one that might be worth eliminating. But I was trying to think of a good example of a policy change, like, you know, eliminating a zoning district or something like that, which isn't gonna happen, but that's just a
Oh,
better.
they talked about a zoning district that was created that was never used. The one that was for the depot.
Yeah, the planned village development that was adopted for the purpose of the train yard. That's never been used.
At town meeting voted it down and then I guess it burned down or something. So. But that, you know, it was, do we want to keep that? I mean, that's something that's.
But yeah, so like I wouldn't, probably as a result of this process, we wouldn't recommend eliminating a zoning district like SRC or SRD or something, right? And I'm not saying that will be one, I'm just trying to think of something that would be a major policy change. Something like that would happen after the master plan.
So both the master plan and the zoning changes will have to go to town meeting for approval, right?
Master plan does not have to go to town meeting for approval.
Okay, but the zoning changes will.
Zoning changes do.
And
yeah.
I mean, and that'll go through as one document. With all,
Well, we need to discuss that as a group, I think, and the best way, and with the planning board, obviously, as to how to approach that, because
it's
do you want to
overwhelming.
risk overwhelming town meeting with,
Good part
bunch
about
of
that
changes,
is the bad thing about it.
yeah, or do you do it in chunks so
Yeah.
people can maybe digest it a little easier? I don't know.
Yeah.
As was mentioned, the groundbreaking ceremony for 28 Hartford Ave North was yesterday.
Everyone on this call, except for in this room, Lauren was there.
Sorry?
Everybody was there except for,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Is that Gina on the call now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so Gina's on the call now too. So.
Okay,
I'm
to that-
here, I'm driving.
On that point, can you tell us how to get to the final document of the agreement that we had with Habitat for Humanity?
Oh, sure.
And I'm particularly interested, maybe it's not there, but I'd still like to see it. Is the $160,000 that we received from CPC.
Yeah.
Did that get incorporated into that final agreement as to how much we're gonna give them, or is that they just know at some point in time we're going to?
That was, you all authorized Kathy to issue those funds to.
It's all
Habitat.
160,000?
I think it was 100, no, it was 125. But I'll find the final version of all the documents.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And send that around for everyone.
Thank
you. I thought I did that, but maybe I must not have.
You may have, but I scanned my email. And
Either way,
I see it.
I'll send it, so it's even if I did, it's at the top of everybody's email, and if I didn't, good, apologies. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. TIP project we mentioned, kicked out till 2029. And my computer isn't working. Yeah, those are all like the housing, more housing specific updates.
Okay, any questions for Mike? treasurer's report?
I don't have anything printed out because my printer died. But I have an update. So the available funds are $275,000. The lion's share is $160,000 we just mentioned that we received at the annual town meeting from May 25. Then we have some, there's $90,000, these are rounded numbers, from a special town meeting 2023. And there's some residual stuff that, I think, Michael, you worked with Kenny and he got some of it and not, because there's some corrections that had to be made.
Yeah,
We still have some money open for the action plan, 3,750, but we have paid that.
oh, yeah,
That
that
came from another account, so we just have to reverse that. I can send this or
okay,
if you, or to whoever.
yeah, but send it to both of us.
And if we could just get that cleaned up, that would eliminate these accounts.
Okay,
And it would increase the another account that we have dating back to 2014. That's is available to us. That is the one that, remember, they paid insurance correctly. That was corrected. So we got $11,935 back, and that has been actually transferred into the accounts. And the other key point to note is that, so the balance available to us is $275,652. Those are the trust funds. At the town meeting, there was also the annual 10% transfer that was approved. And in the article, it says $108,000 is the amount. So there is going to be a transfer done. I'm not sure it's 108,000 because 2024 was 108,000 too. So that might have been a placeholder. And I didn't look at the, actually, town clerk said that was the final article that was approved. So I'm not sure if they have to actually go there or if Kenny has, during his closing process, screws it up in a different way. But it sounds like there's like another $100,000 that would be coming into our accounts. So with that, it's like $375,000.
So that's the CPC accounts for affordable.
Those are affordable housing trust accounts.
Yeah.
With, and those have all been funded by CPC.
Yeah.
monies.
Okay.
Let me take it back what I just said. The 275 is the trust money. That $100,000 or so that was just recently approved at 10%, that will remain in the CPC's
Okay.
control. But of that reserve, that's the community housing reserve. Today it's $809,000. Well, this is as of April 30th. That's the last report I had. 809,000, which that is what will increase by roughly $100,000. So it's 900,000. And that's the CPC's control.
Okay, and that's their sort of discretionary that can go to any, there's 3 designated pots. And that 800,000 is up for grabs between the 3.
No, that 800, so let's just for the argument, call it 900,000.
Yeah.
That is specifically reserved for community housing.
Oh,
So there's a general fund
okay.
and they collect all that. Then by state law, 10% has
Yeah.
to go to housing,
Okay.
open space and recreation and historical resources, I believe.
Okay.
So 10% each, and the town meeting annually approves those transfers.
Okay.
And that's, it supports the state law. So that $809,000 that we do see now in the books right now that Kenny has as of April 30th, that's the last I have,
Okay.
that will increase once, I think he goes through a year-end process,
Yeah.
which is probably still going on.
yeah, the year-end process for sure is still going on. I don't know exactly when he wraps it up. I don't know if that's all be done by June 30th or if there's time after that that it needs to be in. I would assume it's the latter, but that's not my field, so.
So I should know this, but who is the 200,000 that you had mentioned earlier? The 275, 652. Whose control is that under? Is that under the CPC or us?
Us. That's Affordable Housing Trust funds.
Okay.
They were all sourced from the CPC.
Yeah, I mean, that was a meeting.
Yes. Well,
Last year.
at this point in time, that 275,000 accounts for is from 4 different town meeting actions. One is old as 2014.
Okay. And that does not the money that we spend, for the Habitat House,
Mhm.
that has already been taken out of there.
Not as of
I
April
don't think
30th
it
in the
was.
accounting.
Yeah, probably not from that report. Mhm.
Okay,
So that's why it's of interest to note is that there is, I would guess, encumbered funds.
so 125 is
Committed.
encumbered, so that'll be reduced to like 150.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and that was to help us with staffing and planning, and we had asked for that, I think, a certain amount last year.
Well, we had asked for the 160,000, not knowing exactly what,
Right,
we talked about different things. We felt comfortable with the 160 would
Right.
meet, and then the 125 came out through
Yeah.
other further negotiations with.
yeah, but then we asked for some more money to help us staff up. Because we talked, and there was sort of this other thing we brought to town meeting to allow us to, you know, be able to be more nimble.
Wasn't that all in the 160?
Well, 160 was specifically called out as to build an affordable housing unit at 20.
Right, no, there was a separate item, there were like.
Then there was, it's probably, Kathy, you might be thinking of, special town meeting in 2023, CPA funds to Upton Affordable Housing Trust, which was very generic.
Yeah.
Statement. I think that's where you might be.
But we had to defend
To
them, we
give
had
us
to say,
flexibility,
we had to give them,
things that we might use. the
might
money
use them for, right?
Well, at
Right.
that time, remember, there was a regional housing coordinator that was available through CMRPC, which is no longer. But
Correct, but we also wanted staffing because we knew even with that, for what we
Right,
needed
yeah.
somebody here part, you
Yeah.
know, so I think there were other, you know, I can find, because I remember writing that up. I remember going to the CPC and asking. So, okay. Any other things on the treasurer's report?
No, that is it.
Oh, thank you, Laura. This isn't church. I was going, if you sat in the back, I was gonna like pick you up and bring you to the front.
One thing about the 28 Hartford Avenue one, in that closing, it is deed restricted, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah.
The other one was not previous. When we previously owned it,
Mhm.
that wasn't, restriction was never filed on that.
Oh, no, yeah, because nothing was ever, I think the intention was to always offload it to somebody else to then have a restriction put in at that time. I assume so. Maybe I'm assuming too much, but
Let's
yeah.
go with that.
but for sure.
But it works out well, because I mean, nothing happened. It stayed within our control and it's now deed restricted.
Absolutely, it's deed restricted.
Because we couldn't not be.
Yeah.
We couldn't not deed restrict it.
No,
That was CPC funds. being
Exactly.
used, But that also.
No, we
applied back to-
couldn't with. We went through this exercise because we had bought it. Oh, actually, we wouldn't have, but we'd have to sell it for full market value.
Oh, right, yeah, there was the option of
Yeah.
if there was nobody who was willing to bid on providing an affordable unit, then there was the potential to offload it or sell it to,
Yeah.
for whatever the market.
But
rate
it
would
wasn't
be.
worth it, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Okay, any questions for Brian? Okay. So next thing on the agenda
We have to accept the treasurer's report first.
before,
I don't-
remember.
yeah.
If you wanted to start that practice,
We had a meeting, so I forgot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now, do people want to vote to, or do we just
Kind of,
let it go?
we should, don't have to.
Yeah, okay.
Fine.
Okay. So the next thing is the proposal for feasibility study of 0 Westboro Road and 0 Warren Street.
Can you tell us some more about that? Because again, it's been a long time, so fill us in about that.
so this, we'll get this back in January, I think it was. I had, was approached by, well, I'd sent some feelers out regarding this. She did speak to a couple of different firms, but this was the only one that gave me anything. So 0 Warren Street is also referred to as Pleasant Woods, which is the, on top of the hill off of Warren Street behind, Upton Housing Authority.
Behind Coach Road's apartment.
Yeah. There is roughly 30 acres, probably only 5 or 10 of which are actually buildable because the rest of it is cliff, and rock. And so that parcel of land, and then as well as another parcel of land that I'm forgetting how big it is, off of Westboro Road. Both of those sites are owned by the town. And so it was identified by you all, the trust, as potential for citing future affordable housing. If you wanted if you wanted to invest in seeing if it's possible, this would be the initial step to investing into seeing if it were possible. So they would provide a high level feasibility analysis, including data collection, design development, report creation, to conduct basically. Did anybody look at the BSC group concepts for behind us here, the church and the
Yes, yeah.
so like, if you look at those plans, it considers site constraints, right? And it gives a good review of what is available on the site and what could be potentially constructed on the site. But what it isn't is an engineering level analysis of, grade and, down to the fraction of an inch of how to actually develop, how much fill to bring in, how much to take out, those sorts of engineering details. It's not that, it's a much higher level overview of this is what we think you could get on this site. if
And
you
not
wanted to.
perks, not wells, 'cause
Yeah.
if you do the Westboro Road, you need.
What kind of cost would this entail?
I think it's in there.
Is it?
What was your question? I missed it.
What's it called? What sort of cost would this entail?
What, the what?
Cost.
Hmm? That's the one, that's Pleasant Woods. The entrance, it's an entrance on Warren Street, on the Fowler Street side of Warren Street. And there's a little sign there saying Pleasant Woods.
It's right by Warren.
And no, it's, if you cross, I think High Street.
Yeah.
Zip across High Street, it would be on your left, probably about 200 feet down, 300 feet down.
As soon as you go across the street, across High Street, it's right there.
And then it goes clear down to Main Street. Behind Coach Road Apartments, behind the gas station, that's all open space back there. So it's this one big, used to be a hotel there many, many years ago. And
Must be narrow.
that's the name,
It's
Pleasant.
only 30 acres. It's only 30 acres.
So that's 01.
So
It's a long skinny one.
Yeah.
It sounds like this.
they quoted you $9,200
For the two.
yeah, I believe it was for both of them.
And again, this came from the whole, what we wanted to do. We fixated on,
This is from the action plan. right?
Hartford, yeah.
Yeah.
And Hartford Ave. So we did under the action plan itself, we did an inventory of town-owned properties. And most town-owned properties are not, they're owned by schools, they're owned by, and they're not buildable. So what Mike's office did is he ended up getting a few that actually might be feasible because that way, if we got a developer, we could work out some agreement where they could basically get the land.
So right now we own that.
Yes, yes. Pleasant Woods is complicated because there's a conservation restriction on it, which means, but the Conservation Commission has expressed not opposition to doing a switch with a parcel of land up on North Street, I think, which is a frontage lot, which they're very interested in preserving. They haven't voted on it, they haven't okayed it. But if Pleasant Woods was indeed an option, we'd have to go through the process of taking the conservation restriction on Pleasant Woods and putting it on another piece of town-owned property, which is now actually could be sold. It could be developed if the town opted to develop it.
So this is the parcel, Pleasant Woods 0, Warren Street.
It was multi-level, they could put quite a bit of content.
Yeah, if we
Well-
wanted to, you know,
Possibly, maybe, again, I think anything beyond, like you see where my cursor is, really beyond that spot, I think is where the grade really starts to get challenging. So I think the only really developable area is this front area which is, you know, for the best, because that's what where the access to the lot actually is.
And there's a piece of property just to the right of what you're showing us.
Yeah,
It's long and skinny.
that's a part of that house.
That's the house that's way up on the hill.
and it's a parcel for sale right there too. I mean, that might not even be feasible. I mean, one of the things I think Marcella said at a meeting we were at, was talking about vernal pools there. Vernal pools.
Yes.
So we don't even know if it's something that, and that's what the point of this is it even worth considering? Yeah, no, environmental still matters with 40Bs.
I was getting on that, I'm gonna be trying to get out of town and go to work.
That's inevitable.
It's gonna happen anyway, yeah,
Learn to live with that.
fortunately. As Michael said earlier,
Choice.
even if Upton stops developing, as Michael said earlier, even if Upton starts developing, Milford isn't, Grafton isn't, Northbridge isn't, and all these cars come right through, Mendon isn't. So,
Whatever thus, somebody said to me yesterday about change and how difficult it is. My answer to them was, we have to learn to embrace it and accept it. Anybody who built a house in this town 200 years ago would certainly not recognize it. So
watch it later.
it's in the nature of the beast. I mean, everybody's entitled to somewhere to live.
Right. I just want to be smart about it and
I think that's what we're trying
Trying
to
to
do.
do.
Yeah, the North Street property that you mentioned, was it North Street?
Yeah.
That they might be interested? Is that a piece of property we'd be interested in? It's got frontage.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the size of it.
Jason,
Do you
I'm
know,
not sure which one, I forget which one that is.
David,
Do you know?
the bottom property and Forest
I
Heights.
think Maureen knows.
yeah, it's up, they were gonna put a wind farm up there, I think, at one time, and the town ended up taking it. It's a forested area.
Shame they didn't put a wind farm up there. What are we talking about?
There's a place on North Street. That's a good point, actually. I don't think the Conservation Commission would be excited about it, because I think they've, looking at it as linking the trail systems, but,
Mhm.
That doesn't,
That property says it's owned by the town, this one right here.
Yes. That's
Maureen
the
says
part-
yes.
Yes,
Oh, right, because aren't they're looking at this one, this piece right now is, I'm forgetting the name,
that's in Forest Heights, is it?
Forest Heights, I think.
Oh, so they took the frontage already?
Just.
I thought the lot they were looking at, because that would leave the big lot landlocked, right? No, there was
What?
something else.
that lot
Look at that.
had approved subdivision on it at one time.
Hey, Maureen.
She said it has an approved subdivision on it at one time.
Oh, okay.
No, but
And that-
Forest Heights was in private hands. The land that they're talking about, and they had to go through and buy it. The land that the Conservation Commission is talking about doing the switch on is already owned by the town. but it
Yes.
doesn't have conservation restriction on it.
Which is probably this one that I think.
I think, yeah, I think it was on the
Maureen-
other side, and it's another long lot. I think it was down near the pike. I think it was
That's the-
way down.
But is,
Yeah, Beyond
is
the
it not-
Forest Heights project.
Yeah, I hate the thing in here.
Well, so this is where the pike is, and that's the town line, so. I think it was that property we're looking at.
It wasn't Forest Heights.
We also own two down, right north of 208 North Street. Is that like the little square?
Maureen wants to talk.
No, I trying to think what she's looking at. That where you have the arrow is Forest Heights, correct?
Yeah.
And this parcel, that square parcel. Within the Forest Heights. I think the town owns that too.
That one, yeah.
oh, that one?
Oh, yep. Mhm.
Forest Heights has frontage on the road. Yes. I think that's the one.
So yeah, this shows, that one shows as being owned as by the town. This shows as being owned by the town. And this is the one that's looking to be purchased,
Yes.
Yep. flag lot, I'd call it.
Purchased by an outside, a private sale?
That's town.
By the town, and then the conservation restriction held by, I forget who.
Well, either Metacomet and Sudbury Traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's down there somewhere.
Yes.
Oh, actually, maybe it's, no, it was North Star. I was gonna say, maybe it's Westboro Road. Oh, no, this is the one on Westboro Road.
So, so-
Yeah, I don't know exactly, you know, Mike, you know, when Mike comes in, I mean, Bill comes in, we can ask him. Bill will know which one it is.
through the chair, to answer Brian's question somewhat, as far as being interested in this land for potential development, I mean, right, they're looking to purchase that one, which is the access to the lot, and you can see that that's covered by wetlands, so that would not be an ideal spot. And even if we were to use that to access that larger lot out back, it doesn't look like that's a real good option either. That front lot with the access off of North Street
North Street, yeah.
is, well, a little over 3 acres, it said. You know, maybe that's a better, better spot for something, but I, you know,
But that's already been wrapped into Forest Heights.
if it has, then yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
so
you were talking about a potential swap of some kind as
it
well.
was a piece of land that was already owned by the town. And they
Another.
wanted to protect it. And it didn't have a protection on it. It didn't have a conservation restriction on it. So it could be sold if the town wanted to sell it to someone to build something on, they could have.
And this
And I
is the
think-
west,
Is that the one up near the Mass Pike?
Maybe.
yeah, I mean, kind of,
Green, the town, right? I think that one is up by the Mass Pike.
And Michael, that's the one that's in the scope of, what you're proposing?
yeah, that's the other piece of land.
Split, there, it- there. Green is town owned, right?
Someplace,
What?
Oh,
need some kind of assisted living facility.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's something,
Way out of town though.
yeah. Okay, so I guess the question is, because there are other things coming up and, you know, if we can talk to Bill Taylor when he comes in, and find out where that land on North Street is,
Mhm.
and if it was incorporated into, Forest Heights. You should be here at 6, I think, for the
Yep.
joint meeting. So,
It's my understanding Forest Heights with a parcel unto its own. That they don't connect.
the parcel, I'm sorry, Maureen, I missed it. What'd you say?
That that parcel of Forest Heights is just for Forest Heights. I don't
Yeah.
think the parcel has anything to do with it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it's a parcel that was sort of being bandied about is in Forest Heights, then it's not feasible. It's not going to happen. Because
No.
that's already been wrapped into a concept, a agreement with Metacomet. So I guess the question is, do we want, because there's two other things I'd like to bring up along these lines. Actually, before we get off this, because maybe we can wrap this into it, I don't know. I think at another meeting, at least in conversations with people, I raised the possibility of St. Gabriel's because they've expressed interest in getting rid of a fairly significant piece of land next to the church. They want to sell it. And they've been talking about selling it to rec because the land across the street, I guess, it's already been bequeathed to the town for recreational purposes. And I didn't know if that was something that we could also, if we started discussions with St. Gabriel's, if that's another thing that we could wrap into that. Bill Taylor has said it's very ledgy there and difficult to develop. Because the other thing, to Lori's point, and I brought this up to folks too, is Upton needs senior housing, like for affordable senior housing.
Service.
And that would, you could do like a multi-independent living, assisted living. And, that would fit into St. Gabriel's mission. And it would provide the town with a way to keep its senior population in town that currently has to leave because they can't afford to live.
That's the question. How does that wrap into our,
Because if they can do one more. If they can do one more sort of windshield analysis of the building.
I get that. What I'm saying is how does land at St. Gabriel's wrap into our mandate?
Because it would be affordable housing.
But through the
think-
chair, the only problem with that is the sewer and water or something.
Is what?
Sewer and
It's
water.
the sewer.
Yeah, but that's the same problem on Westboro Road and North Street. They don't have water or sewer either. The only one that we're looking at, and I don't think it has, I don't know if Warren Street, I don't know what Warren Street has.
I mean.
You could
can
probably
put
extend
package-
water and sewer there, but I don't even know if Pleasant Woods has it.
You can put package treatment plants. But then the developer has to find some way to take care of it. Or-
Yeah.
Or owner, the people that live there.
I think they just extended water up High Street, I think.
Yes.
But 'cause they put a lot of pipes in, so they could theoretically do something down Warren and in if they wanted to, but
They could.
But but yeah, I mean, that's why, for both of these, Lori, when we were talking about, Westboro Road, and there's a relatively small site, again, you're talking about affordable senior housing, maybe multi-tiered senior housing. St. Gabriel's could be, same thing. So people wouldn't have to move to Worcester or Hopedale,
Well, what is the demand for it in this town?
huge.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, just people are going, everyone I know who has to move goes to Northbridge, they go to Westboro, to the Willows. It's a place, and I know 4 people who've gone to Hopedale.
Surely that would be built by somebody who was going to provide all the facilities required for it.
Well, we could I mean, right now we have, I mean, this gets into a whole different area. Right now, the zoning special permit, you can build over 55 communities.
Yes.
And so, we could always change that bylaw to create the same incentive to do affordable. And people could be encouraged, we could leverage, we have money. We could leverage,
I don't want to throw.
some of the money we have to encourage the development of a multi-tiered, sort of senior You know,
To be honest, I don't want to throw cold water on this because I live in a 55 Nova community myself. But we have a very large over 55 population in this town. From my personal point of view, I am more interested in getting young families into this town.
we could do multi-generational, but the thing with the over 55 is the over 55 that are coming here now are wealthy and they're not from up. They're from out of town.
And some of us are getting involved in town.
And so this would encourage, because the seniors in Upton aren't rich.
No, I'm not suggesting they are.
And so this
That's what I'm
is,
saying at all.
and so this provides an option, you know, and we could, you know, it could be if we're doing apartments, if we're doing some, it could be multi,
We've got,
that's subset really poor. That's
It would
for,
be, it would
the
be
majority of people who live at,
but most people can't, none of the people I know would be able to go there because they make too much.
Okay, are you talking about places like you mentioned, the place in Westboro? They provide housing, just straight up housing. Then they have a bridge to medical
There-
services.
The one in
different
Hopedale
types of units.
is the best analogy. And this, the reason I brought it up in this conversation is can we throw another one in there if the, you know, trust wants to. But the one in Westboro has independent living. So it's an apartment,
Mhm.
you know, where you can go in. And then if you need assistance, if you need help, move to a different unit and you can get help. And then if you need, you know, basic, I think it goes to the next step, you remember, I think it's got the 3 different, you know, components to it.
And how does that go against the SHI? Just trying to think of our goals and the 10%.
Well, I asked if we could do that as a, you know, 40B, and I think you guys were gonna check on it.
I think we found, didn't we find that those units could be added
Yeah,
to
I
the
thought you
SHI?
told me they could.
But no one really does it.
Yeah.
There's one example in Newton that the building commissioner just happened to know about.
Yeah.
That's all I could find.
So theoretically, it could be done,
run, don't they? They're very expensive as a who's gonna,
because they make a lot of money.
who's gonna subsidize all of the services required for it though?
They make money, obviously, or else they wouldn't.
Medicare.
They do, we're not in the business of providing,
They would, the developers.
So I know Maureen wanted to say something, but before
I did,
Go ahead.
and I probably already know the answer to it, but why couldn't we do an all affordable housing complex?
sorry?
Why
couldn't we
can't
do
we do all affordable housing, not 10%, but the whole thing?
Yes, I agree.
I didn't hear what
She said, why can't we do an entirely,
The whole development would be.
Not just-
not just 10%, but a whole development that's,
I mean, there,
Seniors are multi-generational, but all affordable.
no, we could do multi-generational too. Hey, Ken. Hey, Mr. Chair. But anyways, no, I just didn't know if folks might want to just consider the buildability of that site as well.
I think it'd be good to have build up that inventory of possible uses. And for $9,000 for those 2 sites, anticipating that
Just sweeten it with
Not-
another couple
not a
thousand.
significant amount different to add another.
I would expect that number you were quoted is probably lower than other firms. Just because I know from speaking to Beals that this is an aspect that of planning and engineering for their firm that they're trying to get up and running.
Yeah.
So.
So it's a loss leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember that parish, aren't you?
Yes,
You think you could talk to
sure.
and see if they might be interested in working with us on it?
So, yeah, but
No,
yeah, I'll
you
talk
know,
about the back. Has anyone ever approached us yet?
I don't think so.
Or you just heard?
No, they have been trying to sell them
Okay.
because they've gone to the recreation, I think, conservation. So they were interested in selling it for recreation purposes. So, you know, and again, obviously they'd have to be a discussion about whether or not what we, you know, would we be interested? What we'd be interested in putting there. There's a lot of things that we don't know yet.
Mhm.
But I was just, you know, it might be good to have that conversation to confirm that they're still interested in selling, get some details of the site, and then ask if they mind if we sort of do this windshield developability analysis.
Mhm.
want to mention is that Grafton also doesn't have any housing.
I can't, I'm hearing it over that thing ringing and you talking. I can't hear. both.
Grafton also doesn't have any place that has services for seniors. So if there was any of these problems that were sort of on that side of things, I don't.
Well, I mean, again, I don't know.
Anybody that can be doing.
I mean, I'm sure not enough of people would be there. And as Maureen and Jeannie said, it maybe, I don't know how big the site is. I don't know what the potential is, but maybe it would be a good place to almost put like a village type thing with
Yeah.
multi-generational, it's between the schools. You're bringing in all different types of people, but as part of that,
If it's gonna have people that would still be working age, want to think also about access to highway and trains and that sort of thing for a
yeah,
community.
well, the big, yeah.
And
So when you-
that,
What, Maureen?
that would be a good thing, that we had something like that. I mean, are there any, do you know of any projects, Michael, that are all affordable?
100% except for,
Project in Medway that I went to.
but that was all
That was
affordable.
100%.
Excuse
But
me.
yeah, this I was gonna ask, was that multi-generation?
Multi-generation.
Multi-generational or seniors? I'd rather go multi-generational because seniors need the young people to be there too.
I agree with you, Maureen.
Did it
It
have,
was families, there's a playground on it, there's senior center, not a center, but there's seniors living there.
did it have the progressive,
No.
elder care? But you could, if it's big enough, you theoretically.
You could,
Well, it wasn't designed to be able to do that.
Right,
You need a.
could,
you
you
need
could do it, yeah.
What towns? It's really not.
You went to see a one in Medway that was really,
109, right, on 109 in Medway.
I was off of that, yeah.
so,
off of 109.
so I guess the reason, Maureen, I'm sorry.
That one was off of 109?
Yeah,
I'll send the group the name of it.
Yeah,
Oh, that'd be awesome. Like to
so
look
I
at-
think, but for the purposes of this conversation today, it's just if it's an option, because if it's not an option, we're thinking about something we don't even know if it's an option. And so if you could do
Mhm.
St. Gabriel's and Michael, if you could reach out, does the trust support that? Reaching out to, seeing how much it would cost to add them to this contract?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
And then,
Yeah.
Just FYI, Grafton does have, it's a very small facility, but it is a Crescent Manor. It's kind of buried behind Route 140 as you enter the center of town. But there is a senior housing, assisted living memory care place.
You know how many people live?
No.
sort of like
I can
countryside,
find, yeah.
which is sort of tucked behind there in
Yeah.
Oakdale, yeah. So. Okay. So are folks comfortable with where we left this?
for further discussion, yes.
Yeah, for further discussion.
there's one question about, and Bill's here. That other project we're looking at, Forest Heights or out? Do we conclude that also in this scope that Beals would be doing the feasibility study for?
Yeah, just to add it to, yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that, to add another project to it. I mean, if we wanted to, act on that today, we could do, ask them to come up with, add a third project to be determined.
Mhm.
A third?
Sure. Yeah.
So that would just, because it would be good to have three.
Well, what I'm saying is that potentially there's two you've identified.
Mhm.
We talked about Forest Heights,
Well, not for Heights, North Street.
North Street. Is that something that we want to review or it's ruled out because of existing plans?
Right.
That's off the table for any development.
Yeah, that was the thing I was gonna ask you. When we talked earlier about doing a swap between Pleasant Woods and someplace on North Street, was that what is now Forest Heights? We had talked about the conservation restriction, doing a switch.
It's always possible to do a switch.
Mhm.
It involves an act of the legislature. And yeah. But we just finished, and we just we had last week.
Right.
protecting.
But was that the site that had been, there was a site that, when we were doing the housing production plan,
Mhm.
there was conversation about doing a switch between Forest Heights, possibility, just is it worth even looking at? And a site on North Street. And I was trying to figure out what site at
Oh,
North Street was
Yeah,
being
it was
talked
set
about.
on March.
That's what yeah, okay. But that's
But
probably,
I think what we were talking about is actually creating some part of Pleasant Street or Pleasant Woods or land elsewhere. And we might have mentioned Forest Heights because at the time it hadn't been protected.
It's the emerald that you were looking at.
well, why don't we should do it anyway, and then maybe we can figure, I know it requires an act of the legislature, but so, yeah, if we can just,
So to the two that he cited and then a third to be.
to be
named.
determined, yeah.
Okay. See if I get a price on that new scope, how do you want to, do you want me to take that to the next affordable housing trust meeting and decide on it then? Or do you want to take action on it as chair with authorization for the rest of the trust? Like, you know, I mean, when are we planning on meeting next sort of thing? If it's going to be another 6 months, that would be difficult.
Too long.
I would prefer, my preference would be to authorize, if it does not exceed, let's say, 2,500 over the price quoted,
Okay.
that I'd be authorized to sign the contract to have Beals Associates.
Yeah, so that's almost 12,000.
To do which,
Should we,
talking about St. Gabriel's.
No, that would be the site to be determined. We would do Pleasant Woods, 0 Warren, and a site to be determined. Yeah, we haven't, that's a conversation for the next meeting.
That's what I thought.
And we don't even know if it's up for, we don't even know if they still want to sell it.
who? I like the contingency, Kelly,
Mm.
but I think we should increase that to, because 2 sites at 9,000.
Right.
So I'm not sure if it's same amount of work, 4,500, let's just say
Yeah.
a simple math.
Right.
So with that, we might not be able to do the 3 sites. So I'd recommend maybe increasing it by 5,000. So it'd be a total of 14. Not saying we should try to spend that. but
Yeah, no, because if they're ramping up yeah, I suppose that, and you could try to get it for,
Just so we don't have to come
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Keep moving forward.
I'm not going to tell him
yeah.
how's it spent. I'll just ask for.
What's amazing is 15,000.
Yeah.
Okay, we're like 5 minutes over and we have forum for the planning board here.
Oh, yeah. Fine.
So, do I hear a motion to, extend, to authorize the chair to extend, a contract to Beals and Associates for no more than $15,000 to, do, the work outlined in the proposal, on 0 Warren Street,
Pleasant Woods.
Pleasant-
Pleasant Woods, 0 Westboro, 0.
0 Westboro, and a site to be determined. Do I hear that motion?
I make that motion.
Here a second?
Second.
Second.
So, yeah, moved and seconded?
Now I can ask a question. Does that mean you're voting to sell that land to developers now?
No, no. We're doing a quick assessment to see if it's even buildable. We don't know if any of these are buildable right now. So, okay. So moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Vote.
Yeah, do a roll. call.
Aye.
Any- Maureen
Aye.
Gina still?
and Gina, you already said aye, right?
Yeah, aye.
Yeah, Kathy Robertson, that makes it,
How about
you,
Brian?
oh, no, Brian was the
Aye.
first one. Unanimous?
I didn't.
Okay. Okay,
For the chair, you have a quorum of the planning board present, and the planning board was supposed to start at 6, is that
Yeah.
right, Lauren?
Yeah.
So you want to call,
just a quick question. We had one more item to talk about. Is that essential for this meeting? Do we have to sign something or?
no, you don't have to do anything.
Okay, good. So we'll just pass over the third item.
Yeah, no, I guess before we move on, then that's a good, does the trust want to authorize Kathy to enter into a contract, assuming it meets all the conditions that we just spoke about?
With Beals.
Yeah, with Beals.
Oh, can we just do
I
that?
think that was
We just made that. one.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry.
Sort of, sort of.
So we should adjourn this meeting and then reconvene, or should we just stay in?
No, you stay in,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And then planning board just needs to open.
All right. 6:07, I'd like to open the joint meeting between the planning board and the Affordable Housing Trust. Forum. Right, we're on. We're just hearing from you guys to see what you have to suggest for the master plan. Right?
So Mike, do you want to open it or why?
Sure, right, meeting between the planning board and the Affordable Housing Trust to discuss changes relative to the housing chapter of the master plan. You have a master plan that was adopted back in 2005. Since that time and more recently, you have had lots of updates to various reports, Affordable Housing Trust Action Plan, a Affordable Housing Production Plan.
Just a housing production plan, not affordable housing production plan. Was all types of housing production plan, one completed 2 years ago?
Yeah.
It's housing production plan.
It's a housing production plan. And so and those are the elements of a housing chapter in your master plan, right? And so the task that was provided to us from the planning board was to combine those reports into the existing housing chapter for your 2005 master plan and make sure that those actions, goals, and the mission of all those documents agree, and to condense them all into the housing chapter and adopt that as an amended housing chapter for your master plan. And that's what this is focused on, housing chapter, that Lauren has distributed a draft document of that chapter for comments, and I leave it to the trust and the planning board to discuss what they would like to keep in there as far as goals and actions, actionable items, things that you think make sense, and provide comment to staff and to and from the public.
So, Mr. Planning Board Chair, can I start off?
Absolutely.
Okay, just in terms of some sort of procedural stuff, the way we're going to do it is we're going to start with the conversation with the planning board and with the Affordable Housing Trust, and then we'll open it for comment from everybody else. So, when I was looking at this, there's a lot of data in there, the middle of it's data. A lot of the meat was at the, beginning and at the end. But when it comes down to affordable housing, I thought we were being very timid. And I think that, the times we're in and the need that's out there, and the threat we're under from 40B, encourages us to be a little bit more aggressive in what we're doing. And I know that we were very vague the last time this was done, like 20 odd years ago. But one of the things, particularly at the end, that I was thinking of, when we did the housing production plan a couple of years back, one of the things that I think it was Steve Metallian, who was the chair of that committee, kept talking about was we don't want another plan that's going on a shelf. We want something that's actionable. We want goals. We want concretes that we can act on. And when I was reading through this piece that, Lauren and Michael did, it was really scary that we're still under 10%. We have a number of projects, a lot of developments going on in town. It's even with inclusionary zoning, it's not keeping up with, our SHI is not keeping up with what our population is. And then I guess in 2032, we're losing Millhouse. So we're going to be losing 39 units or 31 units.
Is that for sure we're going to lose it?
I don't remember exactly how many, but
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
probably an
thoroughly.
expiration on the
Yeah.
SHI list, right?
yeah.
yeah.
So, I guess most likely. But, so, I guess the choice is, do we want to dictate our own growth and our own, what we want and where we want it? Or are we going to have other people do it for us? So towards the end, when they were talking about, I think it was page 38 and 39, one of the things that, maybe we should consider more aggressively is pursuing zoning changes to, and I'm going to be bold here because people can comment, to eliminate the over 55 special permit for subdivisions and replacing it with language that would be over 55 for affordable senior.
Are you saying you don't, sorry to interrupt you, are you meaning to preclude any more 55 and over developments?
Someone could do it, they should be able to get a special permit for it. They'd have to go through, right now we have a zoning bylaw that allows somebody through special permit, so they meet certain conditions, they can do an over 55 community. And we have a number of those in Upton right now. And, this is quoted, this is cited in this. The whole purpose of it was because it was believed that over 55, especially market rate, helps with the taxes, but doesn't help the system too much because there's no kids in the school system. But, how many do we have in town now? 6?
4, 3.
Well, the one going on Gander Mechanic, Cobbler's Creek, Model
Where
Farm.
I live.
There were 2 more.
Yeah, it's the one up at Upton Ridge. What's the other one you're talking about? There's another one that I don't know.
It's going down at the end of Mechanic, Zero Mechanic is what it's called now,
That's a 55.
over 55. So I think there are 6 now.
Not only a 6.
There's at least 5.
Where did the other 2 come from?
Well, we just mentioned.
That's a model farm.
Yeah, which is where I live, yeah.
Yes, Rockwood Meadows, Zero Mechanic, Upton Ridge,
And the one,
Cobbler's Creek,
College Creek.
and isn't the one off of Hopkinton Road over 55 as well?
No, you mean the new one? No.
No,
But there's some older ones too around.
but were they done under the subdivision?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's 4.
I guess the question is, do we eliminate them or do we put? I feel like an option really is to try for affordability.
Oh, the other one is Governor's Landing. Governor's Landing
Oh,
is
that's
over
right.
55, and that's huge.
The 55 plus in Upton.
Why do people
Why
want?
would developers want to put them in? Well, they must be selling, I guess. But other towns, they're attractive too. Do they have the same problem as us? With high concentration of 55 plus communities?
Well, they're not as small as us. When you have 3,000 households and you have so many of them and over, it's like the Northborough, I think most towns have a bunch of them, but Northborough, Southborough is popular.
It seems like it's an attractive market and that's why the developers are making money on it.
And it's attractive to the town too, because of the fewer resources it uses. I guess I don't see the problem necessarily with over 55, but it's that these are not affordable.
Yeah.
Developments that are going in that are.
I think, because we do have, like, in your report, you just talk about, have more diversity of housing.
Mhm.
So can we maybe put language in to be able to change the amount of, and still make it attractive of housing, affordable housing that goes into these 55 plus?
Well, we do have, I think, a affordability density bonus. Which means if developers want to put more affordable units in, they can put more units in. But if you can put a market rate house in there or a condo that you can sell for, $800,000, why? It's just the financial incentive isn't there to,
but we haven't been very. We haven't done anything that's gonna get us
right, I agree.
at this. We've done something to try to stop us from falling behind, but we're gonna fall anyway.
Yeah.
So even if it's whatever development system it is, you need to think about all of them in terms of how do we stop from falling behind.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I would think 10% is require at least 10% any development.
Well, and right now we have 10% in some, but I think the only way to get to 10% is to require 20%. Because 10% is not gonna do it.
But through the chairs, and when you're requiring 20, I know that's just an example.
Yeah.
But it's then it's a 40B, right? 20 to 25% is then a 40B.
Yeah, 25 is, yeah, but we could do our own 40Bs.
Correct.
I mean, and control what is there. But it seems to me that zoning is a tool that we may want to consider
I agree with.
in making sure that affordability goals are reached.
So you're suggesting specific zone that would allow,
Or a special permit,
without a
so you could build, like, types of, we're talking in a different sort of context here with, revisions to the zoning bylaws. Do we want to have zones? Do we want to allow certain types of houses, like multifamily houses? Do we want apartment buildings that can be so there's certain things that we can talk, like apartment buildings for, seniors, or for, do we have that in certain zones for certain uses? It just seems like the zoning bylaws is a good place to really try to hammer through.
And I think that, in the objectives that are up there, the number one is as goals of making zoning and planning reforms that prioritize affordable housing and low impact development. And I think like it's in there as an objective of the document, so we just have to make sure it comes to in the document.
Yeah.
I actually think the low impact development at the recommendations at the end doesn't. The housing recommendations at the end. Some of the open space piece shows up, but that's not the same in my mind as low impact, as the form of low impact.
Affordable,
We need
yeah.
to be reviewing our subdivision plans for
Yeah.
LID standings as well.
Is it legal to, we do have, again, inclusionary zoning, which means, if you're building more than 6, but people are great at building 23.
Or building 5.
Or building 5, it's just enough to skirt it. In fact, there was one developer who eliminated some, so we wouldn't trigger the, developers are disincentivized. They don't want to build affordable units because they can't make the big money on them. And it just would be nice if, besides having the mechanism to do it, if we had a hammer that could really encourage them to maybe do it.
This may not be the moment to say this, but I feel the need to. We've been talking a lot about seniors. We have I'm part of the problem, I admit it. We do have a very greying population. From my perspective, speak for myself, I want to see young families coming. And I want to see people who are going to bring businesses, who are going to bring energy, who are going to be the coaches of the kids' teams and what have you. That's what I want to see. I don't really want to see us increase the number of, spend our money, frankly, increasing the number of people my age in the town. I mean, when we moved to this town, ours was the only 55+ development, and it's been followed by umpteen others. So little did we know what was going to happen. But that's what I want to see. I want young families in this town.
Well, I think when we were talking about affordability, diversity of housing, we're talking across the board. We're not talking
But
just
we do
seniors.
need to provide housing for young families
Yes.
because we talk about seniors who have to leave the town. Well, what about all the young people that have to leave the town because they can't afford to live here? We're losing our young population because they have to move out of town.
Not yet, Laura. We're sort of the boards, it's the board members.
So that's, as I said, it's my position personally, but I feel very strongly about it, so I felt I needed to say it.
I agree with that.
Do you know if any other towns have done affordability, like special subdivision affordability? Like we have like the open space subdivisions. Affordable subdivision.
Affordable housing subdivision.
Is that something that's
I mean, we put affordability bonuses
right?
into a bunch of this bylaw.
Right.
We could add more affordability bonuses, because that is a carrot, right? Yeah, you can have more units if you do affordability.
But since I've been on the planning board, they build a playground. I've never seen anybody go for an affordability bonus. That's why I'm sort of wondering if it just makes.
And maybe we need to talk to developers, find out why, are there things in an affordability bonus happen? Like right now, we set the same with open space, right? We set bonuses for a certain amount of space or a certain number of affordable units, you get a bonus of another unit. Maybe we weren't aggressive enough. Is that it?
I think that also too, the projects you're talking about, Kathy, where you see sometimes just, definitely, I was down the Cape last week. And there was certain sections and they're dealing with a lot of these same challenges, maybe worse. And there was parcels where they were small houses and they were dense. But they're all individual houses. And it was definitely, you could see it was an affordable plan and a project. And I think that all those, I don't know about the one I saw, but going to that conference last year, MHP's conference, it seemed that those were usually done by public development projects and people that are geared for affordable housing. They're not private developers that are interested for profit. And I'm not inferring that there's a problem with the profit in the 40B approach, but that's a slower approach. And I think that maybe that's where we put in our goals, is that we continue down that path and we keep slowly getting more units. And then if anyone's got to build, then they have to play the game. But then we ourselves as a town have to take action and look for these partners that do, the nonprofits that do affordable housing projects. And maybe some of these land, feasibility studies that we'll be looking at, maybe that would be attractive to some of these partners that do it. And it's all based on state and federal tax credits and things that we just are not familiar with, but there's developers that know how to do that.
And the one in Medway was built by, who was it? The Central Mass Housing Partnership.
I'm drawing a blank, but it's in the, I'll send that
Yeah.
PowerPoint project along.
Wasn't it Central Mass Housing Partnership?
They were involved, MHP was involved.
Yeah.
There's quite a few agencies that have to be involved to pull that off.
But that's the type of think tank.
Yes, yeah, I think that, and that the private developer would not touch anything like that.
So that could be something that could be added maybe to the, as a goal, is to grow potential or to explore, not explore because that's too open-ended. Create partnerships, develop partnerships.
Under like the housing recommendations, number 3, housing affordable, local housing partnership committee, affordable housing. We could add that develop partnerships with nonprofits
Partner with our commercial developers and nonprofit developers to produce new affordable housing. And to your point, would be stronger language, Kathy, maybe maybe make that third one like the 40B with private developers. But the new objective might be, or goal, is to proactively seek nonprofit developers to build affordable housing. Because that's where we'll get the larger number of units.
Would that focus on trying to use existing town property or purchasing?
That's what we were thinking.
We also talked about the possibility of exploring some land next to St. Gabriel's that I believe they're interested in selling. So it's sort of,
Which would be a great space.
Land, if you're looking at, say, Gables to the right.
I'm not sure.
We don't
where-
know where, so.
Yeah, that's where it is.
Yeah, that's.
Right in the front.
It's a really hard piece of property to develop, as I recall.
Well, that's why, we're sort of looking at seeing if it's even developable. We just signed a contract and hopefully that may be one of the places that we look for. But it may not be developable. But so no, to answer your question, Ken, no. And the other thing that I think the Housing Trust has talked about in the past is, we have a chunk of change that we can use to leverage, either help buy a parcel for someone, do the engineering work for somebody. For a developer or for a nonprofit. If we did get this coalition, it's possible for us to buy a site and say, here, this is what we want.
I think a partnership situation is the best way to get it
Yeah.
rolling instead of trying to get somebody to come in and do what we want them to do.
I think, yes, I agree with that.
And the partnership also has the network, so they know how to manage it.
Right.
I love the idea of what she talked about. Here, porch communities or sort of rounded village green type of development. They're very attractive. If you get somebody to build something like that, you can put a fair number of single standalone units in a fairly reasonable piece of land. I love that idea.
It's attractive to the town, but it's also attractive for somebody to want to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
The other type of subdivision, co-housing subdivision, where you have individuals with very small units and then usually a clubhouse or something, but it's not an over 55.
Yeah.
Don't.
The one in Medway that I keep referring to, it's like that. They have a community space and they also provide services. So some social services that some of the population needs.
It's like that in Berlin.
I know in Acton, they had some areas that had community pools.
Yeah.
Whole neighborhood would use.
So in terms of other things to add to the bylaws, does the board just keep wanting, or do you want to open it up to?
I would say, under the recommendations thing, where we talk about strengthening open space provisions, I would also like to see adding something about LID. Reviewing recognition guidelines. Incorporate that low impact design principles or something.
Through the chairs, that is something that I did submit for funding for, which is development of design guidelines for multifamily construction, which would include LID, low impact design guidelines.
The other thing that I would be interested in adding to this as a goal is to develop the capacity in the town to, help or to sort of coordinate the development of affordable housing, whether once it's done, you have somebody who's partially paid, at the senior center or at the schools, or, you to do the, you have somebody that can, manage, I don't know if we need it because we have the partners, they can usually manage the, the compliance with, SHI and, so I don't know if we need that, but I also think that we simply don't have, we're at the mercy of CMRPC, to do stuff, and that's a difficult position to be in. So I don't know if it's possible even if there's people out there that specialize in this, but something that may be worth discussing further is something about capacity building in the town to do this. Because it's sort of, a lot about it,
It's probably a good thing to loop the town manager into.
So I like that, put that into the goals, Kathy.
yeah, that's what I was
I
thinking.
like it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the fourth one, preserve existing housing for all Upton residents.
Didn't
I
get,
don't understand
I
that.
didn't understand it either. I had the same question.
Kind of like, I like the sound of it, but I don't know what that means.
Does that mean helping them keep their existing homes?
That's like, yeah, age in place, I think is the terminology that's often used. So, I mean, yeah, it lacks specific action, right? It's a no.
Yeah, I don't know what actions we would take to do that.
Yeah, it's not something I'm terribly familiar with.
I do like, somewhat along, but it's not for all Upton residents, but the SHI is to make sure we maintain, can we keep the no house apartments? And I'd like to put that as a goal, is to
Yes.
keep that explicitly in front of us to retain those as affordable housing.
Retain
units.
our existing affordable housing inventory.
Right, yeah.
Does anybody know who, you must know who owns that building?
Yes.
And who leased it to us? Can you answer that question? And it was rented out, it was leased to us for how long?
At least was time, but I guess the lease is up, but I've heard that for years and years and years.
Yeah, I think they got tax credits and they had to keep it
And
as,
those apartments count towards our gifts.
and they're gonna go off the inventory.
If they were to stop it,
Throw everybody out?
to the town.
What are they gonna do? Throw everybody out?
So it sounds like it'd still be affordable.
I don't know.
Oh, they-
Could be not.
Yeah, they could just be apartments.
There are lots of low income people, they're all low income people living in there. I would hate to see, it would be awful to see them kicked out because they can't afford to live there anymore.
That would probably be
That
what
should be a big
happened.
goal. That should be a big goal for us to make damn sure that, make darn sure that doesn't happen. Half the people who do things
Explicitly called out now. No house.
Yeah, that's really important, I think. Did you say 2032?
That's what it says in here, is 2032.
That's not very long at all.
So that's 6 years.
So that's negotiation. I mean, time to start negotiation.
Definitely.
But that was one of the reasons they wanted to kick the senior center out, is they were paving the way to get rid of the seniors. So. As far as the aging in place goes, it'd be good to find out more about that. On the surface level, I'm not in great support of it. Because, why? Because to invest limited, and I have skin in this game because of my mother's house, but she's not around, so she won't yell at me. Does she need to stay in that house? And,
Oh,
and
that's a huge.
no, but does the town invest money if she wants to stay in the house, if a senior wants to stay in the house? But if it comes down to making investment, a substantial investment, to allowing a senior to stay in a house like that. Yeesh.
Chair, can I give a little explanation on that? So that could, like, aging in place could also mean ADUs. So like the parent moves to the back and then the
Okay.
youth take over, and having housing that like is physically the right size for all
Okay.
ages. So like if a senior has their children move out and they suddenly have 4 empty bedrooms or something, being able to find a house in Upton that's just a 1 or 2 bedroom,
Okay,
be stuck paying for a giant house that they don't use.
okay,
So it can allow them to age in Upton, not necessarily in the
Not
same house, but
okay.
in their neighborhood generally.
That wouldn't be appealing to everybody though. If you've lived in a house for 50 years, you probably don't want to be, and I can think of some people right off the top of my head who would fit into that category, who don't wish to move out of a home they've lived in for 50 or 60
Well, that's
years.
fine. It's just the town doesn't have to pay for it.
Seriously, I mean, it almost, God, it's the right word to use, it almost is that blackmailing them to get out of their house by saying, we'll provide you with this if you get out of your house. I just don't, doesn't feel right.
Reverse it and incentive.
It doesn't feel right.
But an ADU would be, they may stay on their property.
Yes,
So
it's perfect. That's a perfect resolution.
that's my master plan.
I agree.
I already have an ADU.
We have
that I
an
hope to
ADU,
move
yeah.
In this, another couple in this town who live in precisely that situation.
Do ADUs work in reverse? Can an owner move to the ADU and rent out the main house?
So I was gonna say, a lot of times it's not a parent-child situation.
Yeah.
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 Kids don't want to stay in town.
So anybody else on either the planning board or the Affordable Housing Trust have any comments or questions? Or can we open it up to anybody else who want to say something?
Yeah, process question. So we talked about a few changes that we'd like to see. Guess Lauren and Michael will
Mhm.
make them. Do we then come back as a group again, or?
This is a process, and I think people can continue to review it and get back to Lauren. So if you read it and have other stuff that you want, and then we'll talk about it again, and then, you know, the deadline isn't for the master plan isn't for another year, right?
There's no deadline that's been set.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can work on it for till 2030 if you want.
Then
Till
come in-
2032.
Yeah, necessarily getting together as well, but we can review.
I think it'll depend on if we get funding to get help to complete the master plan. And then a clock will start ticking because those funds will be tied to a timeline.
Mhm.
Hey, Lori, I'm sorry. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes, this is something that we talked about because sustainable, and we try to think about sustainability and what we make decisions, special housing is so important. So one thing that I learned from the big multi-family board meeting that we had last year, I never really thought about it like this, but Upton really is a community. And Mike told me, we talked about it one day, he said about just under 400 people come downtown to work, but 4,000 people leave every day to go to work. So even though it feels like everybody works at home remotely here, that's not really the case. There's 4,000 people leaving town. You see them on the roads leaving town all the time. So it occurs to me that we used to be an agricultural community. We had a lot of large tracts of lands on the outskirts of town, and now we're not an agricultural community. And what we talked about sustainable Upton is, wouldn't it be nice if we could have some housing that was close to the highway, so people could get out of town to work in a hurry, or close to back roads to public transportation, so you can get to the Westboro train and the Grafton train and the Ashland train, and the Southboro train without going through all the craziness of the traffic downtown. We could build some things at the edge of town. If we only pick one or two of these larger tracts of land to get somebody to build something, it could be multi-age. Like, for instance, I believe, like, that there's a huge need for housing for people 20 to 35 who are single, have a roommate, 2 roommates, young families. Maybe one baby, they can't afford a house, but they can't afford this town. And so we need, I mean, if they didn't need to set, I think about who needs housing, I think that's what they'd be coming up with. How rental housing, maybe some purchases if it's cheap enough, but we keep building $1.8 million houses. And I was just looking at the value of, I now understand why I understand where the wealthiest community in Central Mass, and I see why. More people in this community are making over $200,000 a year than any other age bracket in this town. That's what it says here on page, I don't know if it's not numbered, 4.4.4 income. And I'm like, 19% of the people in this community make over $200,000 a year, and we could build one house for people like that. So what do we expect? But if we could get the edge of town near the highway, get a multi-family thing, we could stick in the back of the property, we could put beautiful trees in front, and nobody has to look at it. But people could get to work in a hurry, they could get home and they're not gonna spend an extra 2 or 3 hours in the car trying to get downtown. And every single person who lives downtown has to get into a car to get groceries. We're never gonna have a grocery store here, we're never gonna have a big employer downtown. So when we learned that you build downtown and then put businesses here, That's not really the case in small towns like this. I talked to Kristen, we talked to Kristen about it, and she agreed. That's true in a bigger community like Draper, when they had Draper and Hopedale, or when we had Knowles. We don't have that anymore. And so we had people leave this town and they basically wanted to be realistic about who we are and what those people would want.
So if you're looking at incorporating the goals for the housing chapter, affordable housing chapter, you'd be looking at you know, the potential of develop, you know, of affordable housing developments outside of the town center, which is where the sewer and water is. It would be in areas that are not covered by sewer and water.
It was going to have to be at the developer too, I guess. I know that happens sometimes. Isn't that, I think, what's happening in Broadway Meadows, the development had to.
We don't, yeah, we just have a communal well and communal
Septic.
septic.
So it's
So
all
I
on.
know that sometimes that has to be done. I know it's on paper, it's easier to put it downtown, but then it has to get it covered. I mean,
So that's something.
The other part of that is, playing devil's advocate somewhat, is do we want people to move into town and never get involved in town, or are we trying to encourage them to actually become part of Upton?
Are you involved in town and you live way on the edge?
Yes,
People could still.
but there, how many people who live in my development even know?
She's
that town
weird. She's
is?
weird. No.
I can tell you, most of my neighbours don't even know where the town is, let alone care anything about what goes on in town. They care about is their property taxes. And don't get me started. Don't get me started. But I do think if you, especially with children, we've got a beautiful play area here. We want them to have better access to that, don't we?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I think from a realistic point of view, unless those places are going to be just for people who are, you know, going to get in their cars and go to work and they don't have any kids and they're never going to have any kids, I don't see that working.
You know, the other flip side too is that this is something that can be married with the discussion on transportation.
Yes.
Because a big issue with that is, you know, we have no shuttle to get to the train station. We have no traffic calming. So when people do go up East Street, because that intersection off of East Street going into Hopkinton Road is a monster. And, you know, it's like in people's speed. So no matter where you are in town now.
And that's actually part of downtown area, then you could generate enough people to have shuttles to
Exactly.
train and bus stations, instead of having everyone get in their own car and drive. You get start to offer shuttle service to the train.
Yes.
And you can start to get some public transit going, even if it's small vans to start.
And that also encourages local business because you have a coffee shop and people need a coffee, you know, so. Yeah.
Yeah, that, I totally agree with that too.
So, I mean, that's another thing that, you know, we can look at is perhaps for a goal is to this is very sketchy, but to evaluate, to develop transportation scenarios to encourage development in certain sections, all sections of town. It's for seniors.
To be honest with you, given the world in which we are living, the more public transportation we have, the better.
Yeah.
Because those same people are paying whatever it is they're paying for gas, and we're just destroying the environment anyway. So it's got to be a lot better to have public transport available.
But to focus it on what we're talking about today, just to put goals into the, you know, to come up with the, you know, we're working on the housing chapter of the master plan, is to how that, so if we put there is to look at development, you know, to develop, coordinate development of housing development with transportation options or something. And that can be a achievable goal, and that can give us the framework for.
Okay, about 360 downtown for the next few years, and I noticed on the table here, between 2025 and 2030, the population increases 32.7%. So that's now, that's the time we're living in right now, that's sort of what we are improving that. Because what Stan Marcus today, I think, made this prediction, we're going from 8,500 people to 11,000 people in the next 3.5 years. That's what they're saying. And I think it's partly because we have moved around the last few years and it's all downtown. And I guess I have to think about 2 cars for everybody who comes, so we have 360 or 310, then I think now we've got a new one at the end of Mechanic Street to make it like.
Most of it's not downtown. You got the big one is the 40B behind Pickering.
Landing and the end.
Governor's Landing is not on 140. Just like the one at the end of Mechanic is not downtown. It's on 140, but it's not downtown.
Well, it's gonna have traffic in.
Everything is South Street will have traffic implications. Everything has traffic.
We live in.
You know,
Right, but it's, you know.
Everything's gotta cut through the center. That's
Yeah.
just.
Yeah. I'm
Short
sure.
towns, that's how they're built.
It's just a through road from one town to another. You can't get around that unless you want to build a bypass.
you got the East Street Estates going in, you got another one going on Walnut Street. You know, you got a
Plus
lot of,
other towns. Everyone's cutting it through from other
Everyone's
towns
got
too.
so.
So I'm not hearing interest in putting things near the highways or.
Well, no, I mean, that's what we're gonna look at. We're gonna look at I didn't say necessarily when the wording I proposed, the goal was to look at transportation and, so, I mean, you have to look at all sections of town. You can't not.
But I look at transportation. Public transportation works best when you have higher densities. And so if we build, and then we don't really get to this anyway, but when we look at the subdivisions that we're gonna look at later tonight that are on the outskirts of town, those are not survivable.
Yeah.
So that's not actually sustainable. That is not really sustainable practice to encourage lots of development outside of the already denser areas.
But I was thinking if we've talked about this, if we had a bus. Milk has 2 buses, Northbridge has a bus, Grafton has a bus, every town around us has a bus, we're the only ones without a bus. If that bus that came from Hopkinton just came downtown twice a day, we could get to Price properties, kind of thing. And it could stop at Rockwood Meadows, and if there was anything out there, that would be an area that, that's perfect because the highway's right there, of course, and you've got all those back roads to other towns, public transportation. There, I know that it's close, nobody wants it near that, but downtown, we certainly got it near us, and we had lots of things, and of course, we'll continue to have that, but I just think if we want to spread it out and just think a little bit about what people are really doing with their lives, it's nice to have them come down, we want to have them come down, and that's why we want to have our thriving library, our fabulous playground, maybe a cultural arts center, our great brewery, we have things that we have a lot of attractions bringing things downtown now, which is nice. I think it's going to be cultural things that bring it downtown as well, which is fabulous. But what they do in their lives is they go to work. And of course, if the kids go to school, they're going to be downtown.
So to focus it on the housing portion of the master plan, you don't like the language to say to, I forgot exactly what I said, but to, look at housing throughout the town and consider transportation. I mean, it was something along those, you don't like that. Okay, because that seems to fit what you're saying.
It's up to in lots of different town centers. I can say envision that a little more, and when you have 2 or 3 developments in one area, now you have a place that a business might want to be near. Do you know what I mean? Here, we don't really, businesses come not a lot, so their research isn't telling them it's profitable for them to be downtown. But if we could spread it out a little bit and people could get here who were going to Hopkinton and other towns near us, or if it was at the end of Westboro Road, those people would be coming to housing that might be there. They can get to work and get to downtown easily. But I think public transportation in town would be great. I've been hearing something about that, right? And I don't know what that.
But that doesn't belong, I mean, we have 10 minutes left, and so I'm really trying to focus in on the housing section, you know, and, so,
Kelly, can I make a proposal? I think I hear what you're saying, is that in step two, because that would be a zoning change, because those outskirts are, I don't know the zoning laws. Probably,
they're like-
they're not for the apartments or different, more dense populations that you're thinking and dreaming of. So the second one says, make zoning and planning reforms that prioritize affordable housing, we agree to, low impact development, and consider traffic, transportation
And sustainable.
requirements.
Environmental, or.
Yes, sustainability is like.
yeah, well,
It's already.
I think what Lori's talking about though, and I don't know if this is something you can put in the bylaws, I mean, in a master plan. I think what Lori's talking about is to encourage development away from the downtown and on the outskirts of town, like on Westboro Road, on
Mhm.
East Street, on, you know, towards these,
That would require changing the zoning.
it would, the zoning from 2 acre to
So you,
1 acre to less than 1 acre. And that makes it more, it's a sweetener for developers to really focus on putting massive developments on a Westboro Road or someplace like that, but, huh?
It's like a transportation housing district or something like that.
Yeah,
I wish to register my complete disagreement with that. I think putting people out of town is not what we want to do. We've been trying desperately to get businesses to move into town. We want development downtown that people can walk to. That's sustainability. Dense housing is sustainability. The less land you are using to build, the better, the better. There's one thing I have to say Britain's done really well, kept its vast green spaces, but built very small and very close together. And it seems to have worked quite well. I
Part of that is also I agree with exactly what you're saying, but I think parking is a major problem in this town and people aren't coming to the center because there's nowhere.
if they live down the street here, they can walk into town.
Right, right.
that always boggles my mind. There's so much parking down there.
Nowhere
If
to
you
park.
walk 200 feet,
Yeah.
you know, you park in the, yeah, but that's digressing.
Try to think about people's lives, you know, if mostly they want to go to work, they want to come home quickly, have their glass of wine and go back to work the next day. And they don't want to spend an extra hour and a half on the road if they don't have to. And spewing fumes both. So, but there could be something about sustainability and transportation or if we had a diversity, I think we're gonna build downtown, we've proven that, we do it all the time, and we have planning too, we have a lot of planning. I'm on the EDC and we talk about it a lot, but we also look at those other properties and say, there could be, they don't seem to build business down here, maybe there's other parts of town where there were more people in a few of these places.
What I'm saying is,
See somewhere else.
it is going to be a lot more attractive to people to build businesses here if there are people living here. If there's nobody living here, why would they build a business here?
Well, we have a lot of business, and we are building more, right? We have a lot of people. Isn't there-
No, we're not building.
Well, this is a discussion, we're looking at the housing. Yes, Mr. Davidson.
People move here because there's no one here.
They move here because you're here.
People that we talk to move here because there's none of that stuff that's in a big city, large town. They can go there, they go 360 degrees, you get all that stuff. They live here because there isn't that. They party out there, they rest here.
I think,
So that's,
yeah,
so the housing is traditionally match type of people that live here and want to move here, which is large open space per house, 2 acres up. A lot of room, 240 foot of zoning, I mean, on the front end, a lot of frontage, a lot of, and a 2 acre zone is unique. But it's that character of the town.
We have a crisis of affordability in this country. We need to provide.
Yes. And you hit the nail on the head. To do that, it makes it overpriced for my kids, it makes it priced.
Exactly.
Tiring, you get the kind of character that people want. Makes it on.
People who can afford the character are the ones with the money.
But that's the way, that's the balance, that's what you guys have tried hard to do. And I would only add one thing, partner with the town as well, the partner with developers. I will also partner with the town, see what they can do for affordable housing and senior citizen living and things of that nature. Yeah,
Lauren just put that in. So you come in like 10 minutes before, add 2 things, you go down. So, okay, so we have,
Saying counting, like I'm just throwing it out. Then zoning and planning reforms that prioritize affordable housing, low impact development, and access to services.
Yes.
yes, you could do that, yeah. We can do
Yes.
that.
Yes.
I think that
And the
is,
services maybe in town about town is kind of general, so.
Cross that bridge when we get there.
no, that's actually very,
Yeah,
the wording is very good.
I agree with that.
So we have 2 more minutes. Anybody else have anything they want to add, or do you want to go over next steps real quick, Mike?
I mean, next steps are up to the planning board. I would suggest, first of all, the draft chapter is within the meeting materials for tonight's planning board meeting. But we'll make space on the webpage for master plan stuff, and we'll post things along the
So
way.
this will be the planning boards, what their,
Yeah,
yeah, okay,
because we're within the realm of the master plan, which lies within the planning board's jurisdiction. So,
Didn't we talk about having some informational meetings too to get?
that would be down the pike, right? We do this iteration and then maybe meet again and then do. Because that's, well, we're gonna see if we have help from CMRPC first. Yes, Thomas,
My suggestion to the planning board is to take what you've done and incorporate that into the master plan in one of 2 ways. As is, or a summary and a link to your page that has the entire thing. But my recommendation is that you've done a lot of hard work. This is what the town's looking for. We should put that in the master plan.
well, this is the first step in putting in the master plan.
The planning board has the final right on what goes in it.
Yeah.
That's something that the 5 of us will talk about, a lot of good ideas, all different walks of life on the planning board, so we start with this, so this is what I would recommend we put in the plan. Whether we consolidate that or we just link to that as it is, we can just discuss that.
Doug, through the chairs as well, with that in mind, if the Affordable Housing Trust, there's a lot of discussion tonight, so maybe not tonight, but maybe at a future meeting tonight as well. If you wanted to, I would suggest making a formal recommendation when you are satisfied with the language of that chapter, making that formal recommendation to the planning board for adoption.
Okay,
Obviously, the planning board is not compelled to do anything with that, but that is a recommendation from this board.
okay. So the Affordable Housing Trust, maybe you can meet in September,
Anytime you.
because then we would have a
July,
update on.
August.
Are you gonna be around in September? Are you gonna be,
Not me.
okay, yeah,
I just think I'd like to meet earlier.
Me too.
okay.
I agree.
Can do August,
We should meet sooner rather than later.
okay. Because
I
we
think
should
that's
have an
important.
update on Habitat. Yes,
And if we need to, the planning board could take this and make a formal request for you to put that in. Like I said, if that's something we need to do an interim step, we can make a formal request to the housing to give us that. If that makes sense.
so you're talking about incorporating this into the master plan before the whole master plan?
Instead of going right to saying this is what we're putting in the master plan, we can ask them to put it, give us a formal request, put that in.
Okay.
That would be fine.
So that would happen now, or happen in 6 months rather than a year.
Very easy.
So there's a planning board meeting like now. So it would be a good idea if we could adjourn this. Yeah. People coming for the planning board meeting. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, roll call vote. Brian?
Aye.
Jeannie?
Aye.
Gina?
She's still on it.
Okay, Maureen? And we still have quorum. And Kathy is aye, so,
I.
It's Maureen.
okay.
I think I'm Maureen.
Yeah, it was.
I did, I said I.
Yeah, we heard you.